We will now discuss loading fiber. To complete this procedure, all we will need is a scale accurate to 1 gram, some tweezers, some flush cutters, and some tape. Before loading new fiber, we will want to ensure that there is no fiber currently loaded in the printer. After removing the fiber from its packaging, we will want to hold the end of the fiber to keep it from unspooling and then remove the tape from it. We will then carefully unwind 8 inches to a foot of material from the spool and reapply the tape to keep the rest of the material from unspooling. It is also important to note that we will want the spool mounted in a way that will allow the fiber to spool from the bottom as shown. Note, to avoid bending the material, we will want to tape it to the inside of the spool wall. If needed, use the flush cutters or similar tool to trim off any filament that appears bent, as it may be difficult to load. We will then feed the cut end of the material through the fiber feed tube until it reaches the fiber extruder and remove the tape from the spool. Once we have successfully prepared our new spool material, we can continue with our meter load routine. Just like with our plastic material metering is also available for our fiber filament. In order for the material metering to take place, the printer must be told how much material is on the spool when the filament is loaded into the printer. This will allow your printer to warn you if your print job may require more fiber than is loaded, or if you run out of fiber during your print. To begin meter load routine, we will simply navigate to the load fiber utility. We will select Menu, Materials, Load Fiber. At this point, we will be given 3 options, just like our plastic: Quick Load, Meter Load, and Same Spool. When loading a new spool, we will select Meter Load on the printer's touchscreen. We will discuss the Quick Load and Same Spool options a little later. Next, we will select the fiber type that we are currently loading. After selecting the fiber type, we will then select the correct corresponding spool size that we are loading. Once we have the correct spool size, we will continue feeding the fiber through the feed tube until the extruder catches the material, at which point the fiber will be pulled upward automatically and fed through the Bowden tube until it reaches the print head. When the fiber begins to extrude from the print head, press Cut on the printer's touchscreen. Note, we will not want to press Cut too early because pressing it too early may result in fiber jam. So always make sure we see the fiber extruding from the nozzle before pressing. We can then use tweezers to remove the extruded material from the nozzle if it doesn't fall out on its own. If this routine does time out before the fiber makes it to the nozzle, we can simply restart the fiber loading procedure by pressing Retry. At this point, we can press Done on the touchscreen to exit the utility. If we are loading a partially used spool of fiber, we will follow the same steps with the additional step of weighing our partially used spool. To load a partial spool of fiber, we will navigate to the Fiber Load utility by selecting Menu, Materials, Load Fiber. Again, we will select Meter Load. We will then select the fiber type we are loading, followed by the appropriate spool size. We will now input the weight of our spool into the printer's touchscreen and press Done. I would like to note, when you input this value, the printer will automatically subtract the weight of the spool to obtain the weight of the material itself. At this point, the nozzle will heat, and you will follow the on-screen instructions to continue loading the material just like we did with a new spool. If you are reloading the same spool of material that you just unloaded for any reason, the loading procedure will remain very similar, except selecting the same spool option when we begin the fiber loading utility rather than selecting meter load. This will allow the machine to remember and load the previously remaining material on the spool to help save a little bit of time. Just like with loading plastic, we strongly recommend using meter load over quick load whenever possible to ensure more accurate material measurement. If you use quick load to load the fiber, your printer will not be able to display how much fiber is left, nor will it be able to alert you when your printer is running low on fiber. Therefore, you should always meter load your material.